I have evidence. Evidence that you accessed the grading portal without permission.
Sir, that's impossible. I don't have access to your account.
Oh, I think you do. I believe you changed my password. That's a serious violation.
No, sir, I would never...
This is exactly what I expected. Security, I need immediate assistance in my office.
Please.
Earlier that day, Jordan Reed had woken up to the same gentle routine he depended on to stay grounded. A quiet apartment, the soft buzz of his alarm at 6:15 a.m., a quick call from his mother like she made every morning asking if he slept well, reminding him to eat, telling him she was proud of him. For Jordan, those calls were oxygen. He was the first in his family to make it past high school, the first to attend college, and now a graduate student in biomedical sciences. Every step he took felt like he was carrying his entire family with him. His morning had been simple: a steaming cup of instant coffee, a worn-out black backpack slung over one shoulder, and his usual determination pushing him out the door. On campus, he tutored freshmen part-time, never failing to show patience. Even on days when he was exhausted from studying until midnight. Professors praised his strong research work, classmates described him as respectful and reliable, and his record showed perfect attendance. Jordan did not make trouble, he avoided it, but trouble had a way of finding him. Professor Walter Grimes had always been different. Older, set in his ways, proud of his reputation as an old-school academic. Students whispered about his harsh grading and selective patience. Some claimed he treated certain students differently, though no one had ever proved it. Jordan tried to stay neutral. He did not need conflict. He needed to graduate. That evening, the campus was nearly silent. The labs hummed with soft machinery, the air conditioning kicked on in regular intervals, and the hallways felt colder than usual, that kind of cold that made sound echo a little sharper. Jordan had stayed late, finishing data notes and organizing slides for an upcoming presentation. Before heading home, he remembered something small but important. Earlier that week, one of his assignments had clearly been misgraded. A decimal error, a simple mistake. He had submitted a correction request through the official portal. Polite, respectful, no accusation, just clarity. He had no idea that one routine request would trigger the moment that changed everything. Jordan was packing up his notes when his phone vibrated. A short, clipped email from Professor Grimes flashed across the screen. "Come to my office immediately. We need to discuss your grade concerns." No greeting, no explanation, just a command. Jordan hesitated. It was almost 9 p.m., and the hallway was nearly empty except for the hum of vending machines and distant footsteps from the janitorial staff. But ignoring a professor, especially one like Grimes, was not an option. Jordan zipped his backpack and walked toward the faculty wing, a slow knot forming in his stomach. When he arrived, Grimes' office door was already half open. The professor sat stiffly at his desk, glasses perched low on his nose, the glare of the monitor reflecting against his face. Jordan knocked lightly. "Come in," Grimes said, voice unusually sharp. Jordan stepped inside. Immediately, Grimes reached over and clicked his mouse aggressively, locking his computer screen as if hiding something. Jordan noticed the quick movement, felt a prickle at the back of his neck, but said nothing. "You wanted to see me, sir." Grimes folded his hands, leaning back. His voice was controlled but cold. "I did. Let us talk about your concerns." Jordan nodded cautiously. "I just submitted a correction request. I think there was a decimal error on." Grimes cut him off. "You know, Jordan, I have always wondered how you manage such high research scores, especially considering your background." Jordan froze. His background, his mother's sacrifices, his long nights studying, everything he fought for minimized in a single insinuation. "Sir," Jordan said carefully, "I work very hard on my assignments." Grimes leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "But hard work does not explain everything. Not the sudden improvements. Not the perfect alignment of your grades. Not the login attempts. Login attempts." Jordan's heartbeat quickened. Grimes opened a file on his desk. A printed sheet of something. He did not turn the screen around, did not offer digital proof. Just paper. "I have evidence," Grimes said smugly, tapping the page. "Evidence that you accessed the grading portal without permission." Jordan's breath caught. "Sir, that is impossible. I do not have access to your account." "Oh, I think you do," Grimes said, lifting his chin. "I believe you changed my password. That is a serious violation." Jordan shook his head quickly. No, sir. I would never." Before he could finish, Grimes snatched his office phone from the receiver. "This is exactly what I expected," he muttered. Then, in a louder voice, "Security, I need immediate assistance in my office." Jordan's stomach dropped. "Sir, please, there has been a misunderstanding." But Grimes simply watched him with a stern, triumphant expression, as if he had been waiting for this moment. Footsteps thundered down the hallway. Officer Perez, tall and broad-shouldered, appeared in the doorway, hand already near his radio. "What seems to be the issue?" Perez asked. Grimes stood, stepping away from his desk dramatically. "He broke into my grade files," Grimes said loudly. "I caught him tampering." Jordan's mouth went dry. "That is not true," Jordan said, raising his hand slightly to show calm. "I just submitted a correction. That is all." But Perez had already locked onto the professor's panic, misreading everything. "Sir, step back," Perez ordered Jordan. "Hands where I can see them." Jordan instinctively stepped back toward the hall. "Officer, please," he said, voice tightening. "I have not done anything." Students from nearby study rooms peeked out. Then more gathered. The hallway filled with quiet whispers and the soft clicks of phones, students recording, thinking something big was happening. The air grew thicker, heavy, the distant chatter of late-night campus life mixed with the sharp clicking of radios. Everything in Jordan's world suddenly felt loud. Grimes stepped into the hallway, pointing at Jordan with exaggerated anger. "See what he is doing. He is trying to escape." "I am not," Jordan said, shaking his head. "I just do not want to block the door." Grimes' face twisted with disdain. "Of course you do not. You have been cheating all semester." A few students gasped. A couple whispered, "Cheating, Jordan." Perez stepped closer, posture stiff. "Sir, stay still." Jordan's breathing became heavy, not from guilt, from humiliation. He had spent years building a reputation of honesty, respect, hard work. Now all of that was being ripped away in seconds. "Professor, please," Jordan said softly, painfully. "I have never cheated. Please stop saying that." Grimes scoffed. "Do you expect anyone to believe you? You think you are smarter than everyone else? Smarter than me? I have seen your kind try this before." Jordan's chest tightened. He felt heat behind his eyes, but forced himself to stay calm. Losing control would only make things worse, and he knew it. Perez lifted a hand slightly. "Sir, I will need you to remain where you are." Jordan nodded, hands trembling. "I am not resisting." Someone from the crowd spoke quietly. "Is not that Jordan Reed? Does not he tutor half the freshman class?" Another voice, "Yeah, he helps everyone. Why would he cheat?" Grimes shot the crowd a sharp glare. "Stay out of this. Your friend here tried to manipulate academic records." A few phones zoomed in. Students began murmuring louder. "Professor, can you show the evidence?" Someone called out. Grimes ignored them. Jordan's internal conflict spiraled: anger, fear, shame, but he swallowed it all down, refusing to lash out. His mother always told him, when people expect you to break, staying calm is your strength. He held on to that. Suddenly, Grimes grabbed Jordan's forearm, hard, enough to jolt him. Jordan recoiled. "Please do not touch me." Perez reacted instantly. "Jordan, keep your hands visible." He said it with force, but the sound of his command was not directed at Grimes, the one grabbing. It was aimed at Jordan, the victim. Phones captured everything. Students gasped. "Why is he yelling at Jordan?" Someone whispered. Jordan's voice cracked. "I am not doing anything." Grimes smirked, enjoying the power imbalance. "He is lying. He has been lying all year." Jordan shook his head and looked down at the ground, the only place that did not stare back. From the back of the crowd, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Jordan." A girl stepped forward, Lena, a member of his study group, clutching her notebook to her chest. "Jordan Reed," she said louder, turning to Perez. "He tutors us. He would not cheat. He would not break into anything." Students murmured in agreement. Perez hesitated for the first time. Grimes' jaw tightened. Jordan looked up, hope flickering faintly through the fear, as the crowd began shifting its loyalty, questioning the story that had been forced on them. The lie was beginning to crack. Lena's voice cut through the hallway like a clean slice of truth. She was not just another student. Jordan recognized her a second later. Lena Morales, early 30s, quiet, sharp, always carrying a university-issued tablet. She worked in the campus IT department, managing network access and system security. If anyone understood how the grading portal worked, it was her. She stepped forward, eyes shifting between Jordan and Grimes. "I heard what you said," she told Perez calmly. "And Professor, with all due respect, grade access requires two-factor authentication. Nobody can log in without your approval, not even a genius." Perez paused, the first moment of true hesitation. His grip on his radio loosened. The crowd sensed the shift and pressed in closer. Phones raised, live streams quietly ticking upwards in viewer count. Grimes stiffened. "This is none of your concern, Ms. Morales." "It is if you are accusing someone falsely," she replied. "If someone tampered with your account, I can check the access logs. It takes less than a minute." Whispers rippled through the hallway. The numbers on one student's live stream jumped into the hundreds. Grimes' voice wavered. There is no need for that. Lena tilted her head. Why not? He did not answer. Perez looked at the professor, then at Jordan. For the first time, he was not sure whom to believe. Lena held out her hand. Sir, if you have the log sheet, I can verify whether the access came from your device or someone else's. I said no, Grimes snapped, gripping the papers on his desk. The crowd murmured louder. A student in the back spoke up. Why would not he let her check? Is not that the easiest way to prove it? Another voice followed. Yeah, if Jordan did it, the logs would show it. What is the problem? Grimes glared at the students. You are all misinformed children. This is an academic issue, but the students were no longer afraid of him. This was not a private meeting, this was turning into a public reckoning. Suddenly, a student near the front lifted her phone higher and said loudly, Hey, I have something. She tapped her screen, then played a video. The hallway fell silent. It was Professor Grimes, recorded earlier that week, yelling at another minority student who had questioned a grade. His tone was harsh, dripping with the same hostility he was now unleashing on Jordan. Students gasped. Some cursed under their breath. Perez's eyes widened. Even he could not ignore that. Jordan felt his heart pound. For the first time in the entire nightmare there was a sliver of hope, thin, trembling, but real. Perez straightened his shoulders. Professor, I think we all need to step inside your office. Grimes shook his head violently. Absolutely not. This is being blown out of proportion. He needs to be detained for attempted academic fraud. Jordan swallowed. Officer, I did not do any of this. Enough, Perez said. But his voice was no longer sharp. It was uncertain. The crowd parted as the group moved toward the office. The air felt electric. Too many eyes, too much tension, too many phones capturing every second. Inside the office, Lena was all professionalism. She stepped around Grimes with quiet authority. Sir, the portal logs everything. Location, device, timestamp. If someone accessed your account illegally, this will show it. Grimes clasped his fist at his side. This is unnecessary. I think it is very necessary, Perez muttered. A few students squeezed closer to the door, filming through the small opening. The live stream number jumped again, 3,000 viewers now. Someone typed in chat. Dean needs to see this. Lena gently tapped the professor's keyboard. He flinched, but Perez raised a hand, signaling him to stand back. A few clicks, a soft chime, then the screen revealed a list rows of login attempts, each one stamped with IP addresses and device locations. Lena leaned in. Her eyes widened. Oh my God, she whispered. Jordan felt his chest tighten. What does it say? Lena turned the screen so everyone could see. All the login attempts came from one device, she said, her voice steady but heavy. Your device, Professor Grimes. Your office computer. Nobody else accessed your account. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, disbelief. Someone screamed, I knew it. Another said, he set Jordan up. Jordan stood in the middle, frozen. Relief and shock collided inside him so violently he did not know whether to breathe or collapse. Grimes shook his head in denial. That is wrong. The system must be faulty. I know what I saw. Lena lifted her chin. No system error. No tampering. The logs do not lie. Perez looked at Grimes with disgust. You made me escalate on an innocent student. The hallway beyond the office had turned into a wall of students, their phones glowing like tiny spotlights. The livestream chat exploded with capital letters. Call the dean now. This is racism. Someone tag admin. Then a voice from the hallway shouted, he is on his way. A moment later, footsteps sounded sharp, authoritative, unmistakable. Dean Marshall, stern-faced and composed even at this late hour, stepped through the crowd. He held his phone in his hand, still illuminated with the light. His eyes swept the room, Jordan trembling, Perez ashamed, Lena steady, Grimes crumbling. I saw everything, the dean said quietly, voice cold as steel. This ends now. The entire hallway went silent as the balance of power finally shifted. Dean Marshall stepped fully into the office, closing the door behind him with a heavy, echoing click. The crowd outside held its breath, the way people do when they know history is unfolding inches away. Jordan stood rigid, hands trembling at his sides. Grimes paced behind his desk like a trapped animal, while Lena remained calm, her fingers lightly touching the keyboard as if guarding the truth itself. The dean's eyes locked on Grimes. Professor Grimes, he said slowly. Explain what I just watched. Grimes swallowed hard. Dean Marshall, this is being blown completely out of proportion. The student Jordan, he has been manipulating the system, forcing me into situations. Stop. The dean's voice sliced through the lie before it fully formed. Grimes blinked. Sir, I want facts, the dean said. Not stories. Lena turned the monitor toward him without waiting for permission. Dean Marshall, she said, these are the system logs from earlier this week. All login attempts came from this office computer. Same IP address, same MAC ID, same physical terminal. She clicked another tab. The timestamps matched perfectly with the professor's office hours. No remote access. No unauthorized devices. The dean leaned closer, reading everything line by line. With each entry, his expression darkened. The room grew painfully silent. Jordan felt his lungs finally pull in air deep, shaky, but real. For the first time since Grimes accused him, he could actually breathe. His chest loosened, though his eyes still burned from the humiliation that lingered in the air like smoke. Grimes floundered. This is wrong. The system must have been tampered with. Or maybe Jordan forced me to open the portal earlier. Yes, he pressured me, intimidated me enough, Dean Marshall said sharply. Grimes froze mid. You are lying, the dean continued, and you are doing it badly. A few students outside the door let out muffled gasps. Someone's phone zoomed in through the small office window. Another person sobbed quietly, not out of sadness, but out of sheer frustration at the injustice that had unfolded before their eyes. Perez stepped forward hesitantly. Sir, he said, turning to Jordan, I am sorry. I acted too fast. I misread the situation. That will not happen again. His voice cracked with embarrassment. Jordan nodded slowly. He wanted to say, it is okay, but nothing about the last 15 minutes was okay. Instead, he simply whispered, thank you. Dean Marshall straightened, the weight of authority settling on his shoulders. Professor Grimes, he said, you have violated university policy, abused your position, and endangered a student's academic standing. You will hand over your keys, right now. Grimes stiffened. Sir, please, now. The command hit the room with the force of a gavel. With shaking hands, Grimes reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring of keys, his office key, his lab key, the master access key he bragged about in faculty meetings. He placed them on the desk, the metal clinking loudly in the silence. Step away from the computer, the dean added. Grimes obeyed. Perez motioned toward the door. Professor, you will need to come with me. There will be a full investigation. Grimes' face twisted rage, fear, disbelief, all blending into something ugly. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but nothing came out. Perez lightly touched his arm and ushered him toward the hallway. When the door opened, the hallway erupted. Students shouted, cried, recorded, demanded answers. Their phones captured every second as Perez escorted Grimes down the hall like a man stripped of his armor. The livestream comments exploded. There it is, he lied. Justice for Jordan. Send this to news outlets. Someone yelled, I am tagging local reporters. Someone else shouted, this needs to go viral. And then it did. As Grimes disappeared down the hallway, the dean's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, his eyebrows lifting slightly. The livestream, he said, turning to Jordan, has already been picked up by 2 local news stations. Jordan's stomach flipped, not from fear, but because the truth he fought to hold on to, was finally louder than the lie. The investigation moved faster than anyone expected. The livestream spread across campus overnight, shared in group chats, alumni forums, and student networks with captions like "Watch this. It is happening at our school." By morning, university leadership had no choice but to confront what everyone already knew. Something had been deeply wrong for a long time. An internal review committee was formed within 24 hours. They pulled digital records, course archives, email logs, and student complaints dating back 6 years. One by one, patterns emerged, patterns that painted a painful truth. Grimes had been altering grades disproportionately for minority students, docking points for vague reasons like tone, structure, or lack of academic maturity, while overlooking identical mistakes in non-minority students' work. But the worst discovery was this: multiple students had filed complaints in the past, quietly, discreetly, almost apologetically, and every single one had been ignored or dismissed as misunderstandings or academic disagreements. The committee chairwoman said it plainly: this was a deliberate abuse of authority. Grimes was immediately suspended pending the final investigation. 3 days later, after undeniable evidence and community outrage, he was terminated. The headlines exploded across news platforms. Professor fired after racist grade tampering exposed on livestream. Graduate student wrongfully accused. Under pressure to reform, for the first time in days, Jordan allowed himself to breathe, not fully, but enough to feel hope returning. He was called into the dean's conference room the following week. Dean Marshall stood, hands folded, expression heavy with remorse. "Jordan," he said softly, "on behalf of the university, I want to offer our sincere apology. You were put through something no student should ever face." Jordan listened quietly. The dean's voice trembled slightly as he continued. "We failed you. The system failed you, and we intend to correct that." Behind them, 2 members of the academic board nodded solemnly. A statement was prepared for the entire campus, acknowledging wrongdoing, outlining immediate actions, and naming Jordan Reed as the student who had been wronged and shamed, not silenced. Jordan's record was fully corrected, and the committee went further. They offered him a research assistantship, citing his academic excellence and resilience. Jordan accepted, not out of gratitude but out of determination. He had worked for this. He had earned this long before any apology was issued. A few days later, Officer Perez requested a private meeting. He stood awkwardly by the door when Jordan walked in, hat in hand. "Jordan," he said, eyes downcast, "I owe you another apology. I acted on assumptions that were wrong. I am truly sorry." Jordan studied him for a moment, then replied quietly, "Thank you for saying that," and he meant it. Forgiveness did not erase the pain, but it gave it purpose. The university invited Jordan to speak at a campus forum on academic equity and fairness. Hundreds of students attended, many standing along the walls, silent and listening. Jordan stepped up to the microphone, hand steady. "I did not ask for this to happen," he said. "I did not want conflict. I just wanted fairness, and that is something every student deserves, no exceptions." The room erupted in applause. The emotional healing did not fully begin until Jordan took a bus home to see his mother. When she opened the door and saw him standing there, she pulled him into her arms and cried deep, shaking sobs that came from knowing how close she had come to losing everything she had worked a lifetime to give him. "I was so scared for you," she whispered into his shoulder. Jordan held her tightly. "It is over now, Mama." But in many ways, it was not over, not yet. Jordan filed a formal complaint that evolved into a civil rights lawsuit, not for money, but for accountability. The university settled, but the settlement included something far more valuable than a check. They agreed to mandatory bias training for all faculty, a new oversight committee to monitor grading fairness, anonymous reporting channels for students facing discrimination, annual public diversity audit. These reforms became part of university policy, credited to the courage of a single graduate student who refused to accept a lie as truth. The community reaction was overwhelming. Thousands of comments flooded social media. "Jordan, we are proud of you. This could have happened to anyone. Thank you for speaking up." Finally, accountability. Alumni demanded answers. News stations aired interviews. National coverage followed. Jordan's inbox filled with messages from students across the country sharing their own stories, thanking him for being a voice when they could not. Through all of it, Jordan remained grounded, humble, unchanged in the ways that mattered. When a reporter asked him how he felt about the outcome, he answered simply, "I did not want revenge. I wanted the truth to be louder than the lie." And now, it was. In the quiet that followed the investigation, the campus learned something important, something bigger than one professor, one student, or one night gone wrong. Justice is not always loud. It does not always come with applause or headlines. Sometimes it begins in the smallest moment, a young man choosing calm over chaos, truth over fear, dignity over anger. Jordan never set out to expose anyone. He only asked for fairness. But every institution, no matter how respected, can fail when bias goes unchecked. It can rot silently under policies and titles, hidden behind office doors and academic language. And yet, even then, truth has a way of surviving. It may bend under pressure, tremble beneath the weight of lies, but it never breaks. Jordan's story was not just about a grade or an accusation. It was about the courage it takes to stand still while the world rushes to judge you. It was about how one honest voice can unravel years of wrongdoing. And it was about how a community, when finally awake, can refuse to let injustice hide in the shadows. Now it is your turn to reflect. Have you ever seen someone misuse power like this? Do you think the professor deserved to lose his career? What would you have done in Jordan's place? Your voice matters. Your perspective matters. These stories matter. If this story moved you, subscribe, because stories like this must be told.